In this video, we're going to take a look at the concept of linking from the perspective of the project view. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Well, over here inside our hierarchy view, we have all of the different objects that we've brought in from our project that are visible in some way in our game. And one of these, which is currently standing out because it's in blue, is the light snow. Now, the light snow was created for our level using the particle snow, which is already included with the standard assets. We brought it in as one of the packages included with Unity. So I'm going to expand standard assets, I think that's what I tried to say, expand the standard assets, expand particles, and then select under MISC, and here is our light snow.
Right, if you look at it, you'll see that it has a blue cube on it to the left of the name. That actually indicates that this is a prefab. A prefab is basically a building block that you configure in a certain way that you can reuse in your scene. The fact that the light snow inside of your hierarchy is blue means that it is an instance of that light snow prefab. So we brought it over into the hierarchy and placed it into our level. We've adjusted some settings from the original to make it look the way we wanted, but it's still an instance of that light snow.
That's right. Now we can see all of the settings we've changed because they appear in bold here inside the inspector.
Correct. And if you were to click on the light snow prefab inside of the project, you'll see the default settings that it actually comes with.
That's right. So all of a sudden the boldness disappears and we lose all of our great big settings. We're down to just like 10 and 25 and smaller settings that, of course, didn't work for large-scale snow.
Correct. Now, what we want to demonstrate is how to actually break this link between the two.
Now, a quick way to do that would just be to parent an empty game object into this. So I'm going to hit Control-Shift-N, and that is going to create a new empty game object. I'm not even going to worry about naming it. I'm just going to parent it to the snow object by dragging this down in the hierarchy view. And we get our warning. It says we're about to lose our prefab. But now this is about to actually mean something. If you followed along with our level design videos earlier on, we're actually building this level, you saw this window pop up several times. But now it's going to become kind of important. We click Continue, and now light snow is no longer highlighted in blue. So what does that mean?
Well, what it means is now we're no longer an instance of the light snow. We are our own object that is completely different than our original.
We've made it unique.
Exactly. So that's why it's indicating that the link is broken. This is something different, something new than our original.
That's right. And the reason this is important in the project view is that we can transmit any changes that we make over here in the hierarchy view back to the prefab that is in our project if we so desire. To do that, we can select on the version that's over here in the hierarchy view, and we could just click Apply. Now, I'm not going to do this.
Right, because what will happen is if Zach were to hit Apply at this point, any other instances of that light snow that were still blue in the rest of the scene would then change and update, and they would all have that game object child updated and added to it.
I mean, technically we could. It wouldn't really destroy anything because we're only using the snow in one spot.
Correct, but where it could be problematic is if you had a game and you decided to add certain scripts to this and do different things to this one particular object, and you had maybe 50 others of those objects that you didn't want that to happen to, and you hit Apply, you've just made all those changes to every single one of them.
Now, just because we can in this one particular instance, and I don't think it'll break anything for the foreseeable future, I'm tempted to hit Apply, but you know what, I'm actually going to refrain from it because if I need to demonstrate this again or show linking from another direction, then we'll leave everything at their defaults. But rest assured, if we did click Apply, what would happen is all of these default settings that I've changed over here in the instance, see how we've taken like the emission rate and we've cranked that up, and we've changed various things about the velocity and whatnot. All of those would get applied to the version that is in the project view, and we'd end up with a new prefab that had an empty game object inside of it.
Right, so every time we dragged out the light snow into our hierarchy, we'd end up with this light snow with all these new settings and that game object as a child.
That's right. Now, we could go in the other direction. We can reconnect these two so that what we have going on here in the prefab inside of our project view, we can send back over. And this is kind of interesting because if we come back over to light snow and we click reconnect, now watch really close. I'm going to expand my light snow here inside the hierarchy view. You can see our little empty game object we dropped in. I'm going to click reconnect, and we lose that empty game object. But check it out, we didn't lose our settings.
Right. Now, if you've noticed where we had reconnect, it's now changed the revert. So what has happened is it's reestablished the connection to the prefab, but it's still kept the instance difference of the variables.
Now, if we click this again,
we will then get the original Light Snow prefab, and we will lose all the custom settings that we've dialed in on this instance of the prefab.
That's right. And I'm not going to do that, but that's what would happen. And that's good enough as just kind of a quick description. Now, we also have the ability to select a prefab in the project view by clicking on it here inside the hierarchy and clicking on our select button here in the inspector. So if I close all of this up, so we're just looking at the base folder structure, and we have Light Snow selected, I can click on select, and it automatically expands down to it and highlights it for a moment, so that you can see exactly what prefab is connected between these two. So that is a quick look at the concept of linking. Again, it's all about instancing out objects that are in your project view, so that if you needed to make base changes to every other instance, every copy of it in your level, you can make changes to what's going on in the project view, and those changes will trickle down to every connected instance. But only to the connected instances. If you don't see blue highlighting over here in the hierarchy view, then you're not going to get those changes to trickle down, because if it's not highlighted in blue, it's a unique object. It's no longer technically an instance.
Exactly.
So that is going to wrap things up for this video. Thanks a lot.